Can you not? Can you not? Can you not? Podcast. I should stop that because I don't want to give someone a...
Laid back is 2 words.
Welcome back to Can You Not, episode number 30. As we did at number 20, we took some listener submissions and topics and themes and ideas, and we decided to do that again. So maybe we can make this a thing every 10 episodes or so, since we had such a fun time with that last time. However, first, we have lots of good feedback I'm going to be sharing. First of all, we got our first iTunes review.
Yes! Woo! Yes!
And it was a winning 5 out of 5 stars by username Crimson Cliff.
Oh, that's my friend. That's my friend Cliff.
And he says, "No, I cannot stop listening. I have been binge listening to these episodes all week. It's thought-provoking, funny, and well thought out. I've been quoting episodes at work all week. I would highly recommend this show to anyone who has 30 minutes and working ears."
Awesome.
Shouts out to Clifford Arturiste, my favorite Haitian. You're the dude.
I want to know what bits he was quoting at work. That's what I
I'm
want.
terrified. I feel like it's all my worst moments, too. I think it's all my worst moments.
He also left a comment on our YouTube, which is also our first YouTube comment. He said, "Can you not put up the podcast without the video?" And I regret to inform you that we don't record video for these podcasts, just audio. But maybe in the future we should try doing some episodes.
Maybe
with video
after
on.
we can actually get the selfie taken,
Yeah.
we'll be able to
Get
do a video.
A picture of us all in one space. So although our Hello Kitty conspiracy episode is actually replaced our gaming episode to be number 3 now in terms of our most popular, we got a lot of feedback on our climate change episode, actually.
Cool.
So there was a blog called Healthy Green Building, and they shared our podcast and said, "A fun and broad-reaching conversation on climate change, including climate justice."
Yes!
Love how you called nonsense on the RNC, winky face. Catastrophic Climate Change says, "Did Indigenous people predict climate change? Inappropriate question. Australia's Indigenous peoples, loosely and incorrectly called Aboriginals, have cultural values that promote the best, in my opinion, attitude to environment. We are part of the planet, which is mother to us all. Isn't that an interesting perspective?"
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Missed the point
I think
completely.
he kind of did. Is this a simplistic presentation of their perspective?
No.
Yes, of course. But it is already a far superior set of beliefs to the paradigms of economic rationalism and global capitalism.
Okay.
Did he listen to the podcast? Because what?
He kind of got half of it right and half of it wrong.
And we weren't talking about Australians.
Necessarily.
We were talking about-
Well, we were talking about the programs that they were developing, but we were also talking about, I think, those... I talked about Aboriginal rights in Canada.
Yeah.
With an Ottawan tribe, and then
I
also
think we were
Fijians, and then also what's the country that's off of Africa as an island?
Oh,
Madagascar. And I was talking about I forget what the group is called specifically, but they're one of the most notable Aboriginal groups.
And I feel like we were just talking about a different... I was talking about a different perspective, just... different people have different experiences, so the approach to this topic could be different.
Sure.
The way it's been different to other people. I don't know. Have your opinion. What's his username? I want to call him out.
the blog is called Catastrophic Climate Change.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
he or she, whoever this person is, kind of missed the point of our conversation.
Yeah, I don't understand why that's... What did they say? An inappropriate question?
Yeah.
They'd have to elaborate on that for me to understand what they mean.
We'd be
Right.
more than happy to discuss this further if they want to give us more feedback other than that it was an appropriate question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. We did have someone who went all in on us.
Shoot.
A gentleman named Michael says, "I am a climate adaptation practitioner and work in developing countries on adaptation issues, not mitigation issues.
Shoot.
I also teach climate adaptation law at Vermont Law School, and I'm a former journalist, so I understand
No.
story structure.
Oh no, we're going in. He's gonna kill us.
My thoughts are questions, in brief. Number 1, I only heard Westerners on the podcast. Were there Indigenous people on it?
No.
No, and I thought we prefaced by saying that this is from a different viewpoint.
And I don't know, there aren't Indigenous people on the podcast, but I think we were just trying to consider the perspectives of theirs that we could find online, you know, like, 'cause looking around online, you do find things that other people have said.
Number 2, what, demonstrably, does providing renewable energy technologies to Indigenous people do?
We did not say, what?
3, why did the discussion leave out the very robust and mature sets of Canadian Aboriginal law and policies? After all, they're a model for dozens of countries' policies around the world.
Didn't I just say...
I think you
Didn't
did
we
mention
talk about that?
I talked about that explicitly. I talked about an Ottawan tribe that was kind of forecasting...
Well, I think he was talking about the laws and policies.
But at the same time, that wasn't the point. We were just talking about how our voice is being heard in the Aboriginal community. So that's justice more than law itself.
And the other thing, too, is that we're not experts in any things that we talk about.
Oh, no.
So, like, if this... I don't know, if I had time to research it, I would definitely have a conversation about it, but I don't know anything about this, so that's probably why it didn't come up, because none of us, like this specific, if you're talking about policies, like, I don't think any of us are explicitly familiar with Canadian environmental policies. That's something that we'd have to research.
But it drives an interesting possible follow-up, maybe, to...
we need to make a list of follow-ups.
Number 4. Does your tone invite Canadian conservatives to the discussion? And finally, number 5, in general, how does introducing technologies affect the cultures you discussed?
I don't care who talks to us. Like, conservatives can talk to us. I don't know what that means either.
And I don't think our conversation went that far into technologies necessarily, because I was just discussing their experiences, and their storytelling has been forecasting it a lot more accurately without a political spectrum view into politicizing a scientific phenomenon that's happening. That's all I was saying. I wasn't saying, like, what the heck?
Well, I think a lot of this is just discussion points.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to spur more ideas and stuff, you know?
Especially, that's a really good point, actually, is I mean, obviously, all of the stuff we're using right now is very invasive, like coal mining not so much, but getting natural gas and oil and all that stuff is invasive. But I mean, putting up wind turbines is going to take up space, and there will be environmental effects. Same with solar power, same with any hydroelectric power, if you want to, because we touched on that, or just about anything is going to have environmental impacts. So I guess that would be another thing that we'd have to research, because since none of us are Indigenous people, like, I can't say right now what those implications could mean to
this other
people.
Someone on the podcast who...
That'd be cool. I don't know any really Indigenous people,
if we could
but...
get that via Skype or something, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so if there are any Indigenous people who have an opinion about this...
We would love to hear your voice and
definitely.
highlight it and learn from you.
Yes.
Most importantly, learn and listen.
But those are interesting questions. I'm interested in looking into those.
So thank you for writing, Michael.
That's awesome.
But I do want to say, I think it would be really cool to do, like, if we had an episode that was just like 3 follow-up topics, like doing something like this, and then well, I remember when we did the one episode where Amber didn't know anything about Pokemon. Now she plays Pokemon Go, so she should say her favorite one.
And you were like, it's just not a thing. And I'm like, no, it's a thing. And look at that. Look at that.
I caught a level 800 Snorlax in a Staples parking lot the other day, guys.
And I was right, so I will let it go.
So first of all, my sister Becca says, talk about how cute I am.
So Becca, come on now. I understand that your brother is part of our podcast, but I need to let you know one thing. I'm not giving any Kowalskis an ego boost here. I live with one, and it's too much as it is. So Becca, you gotta work for it.
All right. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I feel like I'm never truly going to get a compliment now in this apartment.
I was going to say
as soon as your head fits through the door.
I thought you were going to say you let your sister down, but I was wrong.
No, you can let her down. No, I'm just
Whoa,
kidding.
holy crap.
I'm just kidding. I love you, Becca.
And
You're the best.
But not cute, apparently.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, I said neither Kowalski's cute, so get it straight here.
Monica says, Hollywood is under federal investigation for the discrimination of female actors. After decades, you could discuss if the ACLU wins this suit, what opportunities do you think would be available, and how would the men treat these women? Could you not act like there's no discrimination in Hollywood against women?
What's this called?
It's a lawsuit against the ACLU, it looks like. I think I've ever seen this.
No, it's a lawsuit, and I think the ACLU is suing Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to win the suit. Okay,
ACLU is a rights organization.
Right.
Kind of minorities they fight for. Not kind of, they do. ACLU was part of the organization that aired out the stop and frisk in 2012 in New York City and basically struck down on it with legalities. I think whatever the ACLU fights for the most part, has been right on. I don't know that much about paying discrepancies in Hollywood. I just know about paying discrepancies in general in the United States of America between genders. Women should be paid just as much as men regardless.
Sure.
Just regardless. I remember hearing the stories. Who is the actress that plays Katniss Everdeen in Jennifer
Lawrence?
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence.
She got paid grossly underpaid in comparison to the other actors in the first movie, and she was the lead star.
I found an article, I just looked it up, and it says the organization said Tuesday that it's asking federal and California civil rights agencies to investigate the systematic failure to hire female directors in the film and television industry.
So it's not even payment, it's hiring.
It's about hiring directors, it looks like.
Well, if you think about it, I couldn't name you other than, I don't even think I could name you by name female directors. Because I never see any because... Yeah.
And the only way I can name them is because I'm really interested in film.
Exactly.
It's not something that most people... And it is a problem. It's getting slightly better, but women are not included as much in that kind of stuff. They're not given, certainly not the top positions. They might be under a producer role or like a
writing,
studio kind of role, but they aren't typically they aren't given writing or camera or directing, all the creative things,
Which is so ironic to me.
And I actually, on this article, an anonymous female director said, sometimes showrunners will say this isn't a good show for a woman director, or our actors are hard on women as an excuse not to hire them.
What?
Or they'll say we're protecting you by not giving you a job.
What?
Which is insane. And then just another interesting thing is the University of Southern California did a study that found that of the 100 top grossing films in 2013 and 2014, only 1.9% were directed by women, and the Directors Guild of America study found that only 14% of 220 TV shows, which is 3,300 TV episodes, had women directors. So it's just I guess it's just a huge disparity. It's that female directors aren't getting hired. So, and what was the other part of the person's question?
They said, how would the men treat the women if the ACLU wins their lawsuit?
Well, they have no other choice.
Hopefully they'd stop coming with bullshit reasons not to hire female directors.
Yeah.
Protecting them? Really?
Come on now.
We're grown-ups. I'm sure they'll be okay. And if you need to protect them, there's clearly something wrong with the people you hired, so...
So basically they're giving excuse for gross, I don't know.
For dramatic disparities in the number of people being hired.
I don't get it. That's the same way people of color, and I mean, of course there's intersectionality with gender as well and race, so women of color as well, but people of color in general, they would always be like, yeah, this isn't a safe environment, I'm sorry we can't hire you, you are the best candidate. Oh, thanks. That made me feel worse. You don't pay my bills. What does that mean, you know?
Yeah. I remember when we went down to the Helios Film Festival in Cincinnati to show the last thing we worked on. I met a woman, Jessica Blackoff, who was a second camera on a lot of Tarantino pictures and a lot of other very notable films as well. And she said, she had faced a lot of that, and she said typically she can laugh it off. The people who complained the most, she said, were people who were some of these old timers who were just women on set and stuff, and she just found that kind of funny. But at the same time, she said, like, it was a lot of the little things that you would pick up on, you know, like the way people wouldn't trust you to, you know, hold a bunch of lenses, or, you know, like...
Is it this idea that she has to be, like, a bench presser to, like hold a camera? Like, that's so bizarre to me.
Right.
Like, what does that even mean?
I don't do film, obviously, but I'm a stagehand, and I get that sometimes. It's like, do you want help going down the ramp? It's like, the box is empty. No, I'm fine, thanks. Like, people come up to me. I think 5-10 times a day, people are like, do you want help? And I have to tell them no. So it's like, no, I don't. Like, I'm fine. You should wear
something on the back of your shirt that says, please don't ask for help.
Oh, well, because sometimes I do need help. I don't want to say that, but it's just like, it's really dumb things that I obviously can do by myself.
Like that one internship where...
No, we're not getting into that. That's different.
Amber, have you ever faced discrimination on a Poji Joe set before?
No.
That's good.
Yeah, we're pretty good. Everything's pretty good. No, it's just the cranky old roadies on tour sometimes.
Right.
But, you know.
Cranky old roadies.
Chain smoking, old tattoo having, bearded.
Dang, the Rose Fest just started.
Most of them are pretty cool, though. I like my job.
Anna says, if this isn't already on the table, you could talk about how, in general, certain products seem to be shifting towards a strictly digital format where possible. Movies, video games, music, television is all offered through either streaming services or digital downloads, if not both. I just rented 3 movies, all of them with commercials ahead of them promoting digitally downloading movies instead of buying them on discs. So my mind is on this topic again. So...
I mean, other than I hate it because I love having things tangibly in my hands.
Yeah.
But I can understand the benefits of it, you know, like... The plastic from CD cases can be toxic to the environment, so like I understand it, but I don't like it necessarily because it's hard to access some things sometimes.
I prefer it. Not that I use a lot of media besides Netflix and Facebook, but like it takes energy to produce those things, and I'm really conscious of this. I think about it a lot. So like you figure first you have to create it, so you have to use the plastic and all of that. Then you have to ship it, and that takes more gas. Then you have to sell it, and then you actually have to get it home, and it's a lot of energy. So I think it's pretty cool that people are pushing digital stuff. It's obviously a lot cheaper for the people who produce it because then they don't have to worry about the factory and stuff. So I think it's cool. I have a Chromebook, so I can't download anything, so it doesn't matter what I think, but that's my 2 cents.
This episode is brought to you by Chromebooks. They can't fit anything.
Oh, I love my Chromebook. I don't play video games, though, so.
From a purely selfish standpoint, I enjoy digital from just the accessibility. Because, and I think we've talked about this a bit before, like it's so easy to get songs that you'd have to like scour around and see if anybody had, you know, and I guess there's something kind of fun about that, but at the same time, like, if I really want a song, or if I really want a movie, or if I really want, you know, a TV show, it's so much easier, and I can partake in things so much easier, and as can the majority of people who have access to, you know, digital internet.
I don't know. I feel, well... That's what I worry about. So for people that are like at the bottom socioeconomic level, they won't be able to access any of these things because of the digital divide. So I worry about that. And like for me growing up, the experience of going to record stores and looking through that stuff, like to me that was magic, and that's what kind of got me into music. And there won't be that experience anymore because, let's face it, those stores are dying, and it's because of the digital format.
But the hipsters keep them alive.
Cool, but you know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be cassette tapes you can look through and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. For me, I guess there's a personal interest in this. I understand the benefits completely, and I'm saying that my view is very flawed and nostalgic. I'm just putting that out there, so no one speak to me in all caps today like everyone else is. But I don't know. Kids growing up will not get to experience what I got to experience.
I know what you mean, and there's a selfishness in the way I handle that too. I mean, like, I grew up going to the library every single week and going to bookstores a lot too with like my grandmother and stuff like that. So like there's still something so special to me anyway about going into a bookstore and physically seeing a book and discovering a book that way that I don't think you can ever truly reciprocate with an online form. As great as things like Amazon are, I mean, I do most of my Christmas shopping with Amazon stuff because it's just so great, but I don't know.
I feel like with everything there's a trade-off because where you lose the tangibility of it, where you lose actually going through and like picking out a book or flipping through cassettes. You gain a whole lot more choice. Because, you know, when you go to a cassette store, when you go to a library, you're limited to what you can find and what is actually physically there. Whereas with the internet, you're only limited to what you're capable of searching for the most part. So I'm not saying one's better than the other necessarily, because I'm a book person, so I understand where Joe's coming from with books. But I feel like just as with books, with this other media, while it's getting smaller, it's not dying out. I still use CDs. I feel like a lot of people still use these things for lots of things.
It's like how everyone thought ebooks are going to completely take over, they're going to destroy the book, and like it reached a point and it plateaued, and they kind of coexist now. And I think that's possible with a lot of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I read ebooks and normal books. Go team.
All right. The next one from Rain is Donald Trump. But
no,
I don't really want to talk about Donald Trump.
No,
I feel like we've talked plenty about Donald Trump.
Everybody talks about Donald Trump too much.
Please don't rain on my parade.
Rain on my parade.
Yeah.
So instead,
that's my one pun for the day.
I'm going to talk about our sponsor for this episode. 1Password. You can store all of your passwords, PIN codes, documents, credit cards, alarm codes, bank account info, social security numbers, and more. 1Password keeps your digital life secure and always available, safe behind the one password only you know. So you don't have to remember like 1,500 different passwords. You can unlock 1Password on your mobile device with your fingerprint or a PIN code. And you can use tools like Security Audit to find duplicate and weak passwords and improve them with the strong password generator, which, if you're using password 123, just going to tell you right now, not a good password. There's also the 1Password Watchtower feature, which is where you can receive around-the-clock security alerts for the services and sites that you use. They're also really proud of their one-on-one support. They are very helpful, they're very friendly, and it's free. The Agile Bits employees are there whenever you need it, and they're more than happy to help you out. So you can get this app on Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, and it's get it right now. It's great. 1Password, when it's too important to go anywhere else. Here's one I think, we technically kind of already covered, but Z said, are zoos ethical in the 21st century? Which we did kind of talk about.
Yeah, we did talk about. I don't know. I still have the same viewpoint on this.
Yeah.
I'm really against zoos for the fact that I don't know, it's weird to me that yes, it preserves some endangered species, but at the same time, it's kind of weird to have things out of its environment.
Yeah, and us leering down at it.
And I also, I don't remember the name of the artist. I'd like to find it again, but I just saw a really depressing series of photographs about animals in zoos, and it was just heartbreaking because they get behind the glass to take a picture of this animal, and it's just like concrete and water. And that's what they're living in. And it's like, oh my God, it was heartbreaking. So.
Yep, and I still say you can just watch animals on your screen. In fact, you can digitally download it.
Yeah, I feel like zoos should be a place where if you're rehabilitating an animal, where the public is able to come in.
Sure.
And
almost like an animal hospital.
Like a sanctuary.
Yeah, so.
That's a better way, I think.
Yeah, and well, again, I feel like zoos are too hard to regulate because it's too easy to abuse the animals. But
Alinda says, could you not give me unsolicited advice? Could you not look at me like that? Could you not act like people in the service industry are beneath you? I think particularly the last one's a problem.
I get that. Trust me, I understand that. I grew up in the restaurant bar business. I started working at my mother's establishment at age 11. We just sold the restaurant in January, so I stopped working there when I was 22, 23-ish. That's a long time. Yeah. So I completely understand how underappreciated and grossly treated those workers are. Y'all need to tip your waitresses and waiters a lot better.
And your pizza delivery people.
Yes, stop under-tipping them.
The good news is that stupid pizza place that I worked at in my hometown is closed. I just realized, and I'm so excited because my manager was an asshole.
Is it the one that starts with a D?
Yeah.
Yes! Wow, that's gross.
No, I'm relishing it.
Oh, your stories were so bad.
We drove past, and I saw that they had taken the sign down. I almost crashed the car. I was so excited. I didn't actually almost crash the car. That was I don't know the
Figurative
word.
statement.
Yeah, figurative speech. But I was so excited that it was closed because screw that place.
Did you just immediately go over and just like take a dump in the empty
Oh,
parking
no, I
lot?
don't.
That's gross.
I don't know what you do to things you hate, but that's not what I do.
That's what I've
I
done
just
to
cheer at their
everything.
demise.
Oh,
Like, I
okay.
didn't do anything.
That's probably a more hygienic way to celebrate.
Probably.
I'll have to keep that in mind. I do agree.
Becca,
that-
get your brother.
I do agree. I think it's weird, especially for people who haven't ever worked in the service industry, how easily people just assign people a descriptor when, you know, it's like they don't become a person. They automatically become the waitress, or they become, you know, the McDonald's employee. They like completely like devoid that person of all, you know, three-dimensionalness. And I mean, sometimes our brain has to do that in order to make shortcuts and stuff like that. But like when you're interacting with someone, I think it's kind of weird. I don't know.
I feel like people just assume that, like, people go into a restaurant thinking that they are going to be given something and assume, or in any sort, I mean, even in retail, like, this is what
Oh, yeah.
the customer wants, and they get mad when you can't immediately give it to them.
Jesse's smiling and nodding.
Well, I mean, I worked
Perfectly.
as a cashier in the web store in 2 different stores too. So it's like, you know, I've had plenty of people like on the phone for the web store, like asking me why I don't have this very specific thing that they want. I'm like, I just don't. It's not really. I didn't mean to. Like, but yeah, they're.
But philosophically, why, Amber? Why?
Why am I here? Was the
Pretty
real
sure people
question.
were not asking at Lorraine County.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure they don't know the word philosophically.
Probably not, especially not in that bookstore.
Shouts out to that bookstore. Hope it burns.
It's not doing good either.
Yes! You have a good track record. Now the
I hope nobody hears this, because
No.
then they won't ever hire me.
Should I bleep out the name of the last one?
yes.
Yes, please.
I didn't realize I just did that. Sorry.
Now the bleep. If you remember Matthew Krause, who made a video about us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We thank you once again for your long extended congratulatory announcement about us. We appreciate that.
Well, he saw there's a Netflix exclusive, iTunes exclusive movie called Internet Famous that stars several online famous people, such as, I don't know if you've ever heard of Shane Dawson.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm not a fan, but
He's gross.
But the movie is essentially about a bunch of fictional online stars who get a chance to win this competition. And so it's set up like, you know, it's supposed to be a comedy. He was wondering what I thought of it, so I did actually check it out. Matthew, in regards to the movie, I agreed with you. I didn't think it was very good. I think part of the problem was that you introduced these characters that could have been funny in the right circumstances, possibly with better writing, and then proceeded not to. I mean, I think in terms of the characters that they presented, it was pretty on point. But they introduced a bunch of characters, and then they did nothing with them. If they had a chance to bounce these characters off, I think it would have been
That's how I felt about the American Idiot Broadway show. It was so bad.
Can you elaborate?
Okay, so anybody who's familiar with American Idiot knows it's a rock opera. And there are characters in the rock opera, and one of them is a female, and in the album she's referred to as What's Her Name. And I always really, really liked that character, just in my head the way I envisioned it through this music. And in American Idiot, they had 3 men doing things, I don't even know what, and then there were like females on the stage, but they weren't doing anything. And I just, when you said that you have these characters who'd be really good in the right circumstances,
Yeah.
every single character in that rock opera could have been better if they had written it right, but they didn't write it right. It made me
Right.
mad. Sorry, that's
No,
that's
that makes
different.
sense.
But
And I knew you guys probably wouldn't have a lot to say, considering I was the only one who saw the movie.
yeah.
I hate anything that deals with people that are internet famous in general.
Oh, Joe. Oh no.
Well, I'm not internet famous, so no offense taken.
I'm mad that you even considered him internet famous.
Well, he's on the internet, and I was thinking maybe one day
I'm on
he'll
the
be,
internet,
maybe
too.
maybe you'll be internet famous one day.
I would hate myself.
Maybe you will be
Oh,
internet
no.
famous from doing this podcast.
That'd be pretty. We just made a Twitter and a Facebook.
Yeah, we'll tell you what those are later.
I'm so excited, mostly because I did it.
But like, so you have these characters. So like, the one character's like this dude who's like a 30-something dad with a mustache who constantly scares his baby as like a prank channel, which seems entirely like something that could possibly happen. And that's
There
like the whole
are
point.
really inappropriate prank channels on YouTube.
And then there's a girl who's only found success because she thinks she's funny, but everyone actually is obsessed with her breasts all the time. And then
Are there any other female characters?
I was about to go like.
yeah, there's a female character who had like a video that went viral, but
It sounds like it was written by a man.
Yeah, it does.
It was a girl who had a video who went viral years ago, but she didn't make she made a goofy video that someone turned into a song, and then it became big, and then she's always been haunted by this, and she wants to be an actress.
So neither
and
of the
stuff.
female characters
Have any kind of dimensions. Yeah, they have no they're not creators either. Do you notice this?
Well, the thing was
this.
the girl who had the viral video or whatever, like her whole arc was that she didn't appreciate the success she found.
Oh my god!
It was this whole thing how she kept on trying to fight. She wanted to be taken seriously as an actress, but this video, but this video meant a lot to other people. So they had a big cornball ending, and she won the whole competition at the end. It's like, and the other thing to be said for this movie is that it was very boring. I think like at first there was some momentum, but then literally halfway through the movie they get on the stage, and the rest of the movie is supposed to be this competition. And that's literally half of this hour-and-a-half long movie, which just dragged on forever.
Jesse just yawned. You described it, and we got tired.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Didn't even realize it.
Like I said, there are a couple okay characters. There are a couple good actors. Even there were a couple okay lines. It was just unimaginatively shot, unimaginatively executed. It was just not a great movie.
Can we say Can You Not?
So Can You Not? Internet famous movie, Can You Not?
There it was.
Oh, whoa there.
And finally, we have from Mason, who asks double kind of two-punch here.
Whoa, Mason.
So he starts by asking, do you feel that the American dream is still attainable, or has it been lost throughout the years?
I have so many answers. Can I please start out?
I don't think it ever existed. I think that's
it existed for white people until they took the ladder away from their own people and then made a class distinction between y'all. There was never an American dream for black people. There was never an American dream for Latino people.
I would argue that even though there was definitely a lot more mobility for white people, I still think this notion as a whole of the American dream I think it was all a fantasy. I think it was this optimistic thing that you can never really...
Okay, so there's an American dream in such a way that wherever our ancestors came from, this was tremendously better at that moment. So historically speaking, okay, maybe. Okay. But like for a lot of European Americans, a lot of them came from particular environments that weren't the best. Like my white mother's side of the family, my grandmother was a Hitler Youth. And my grandfather his family was going through the potato famine. Yeah. So like...
Yeah, then it seemed like a dream to come to America.
And then they come here and it's a lot better. And for them, because they were white, they were able to climb up the ladder. Yeah. As for my black dad from Jamaica, that's not the case when he came here. You know what I mean? You're thrown under this blanket and then you have to fight for everything just to get the crumbs and stuff like that. So if we're talking the dichotomy and the historical perspective, yes. As of right now, I don't think it's available for anyone that's lower middle class or down. Yeah. Or even middle class and down, honestly.
Well, one of my favorite books is The Great Gatsby.
Amber's like, whoa.
One of my favorite books is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which was written in the 1920s. And basically that whole book is about the deconstruction of the American dream at that time, because the main character was a character who started very low and then achieved great success and kind of created this mythos around him, but was tremendously unhappy and unsatisfied.
Isn't American dream like typically just rags to riches? Isn't that all it is? Or is it?
In a sense, it's this idea that you can have nothing, but if you just work hard enough and just climb the ropes, you can be successful and happy and have a wife and kids, nuclear family.
Okay, so first of all, it's deciding what happy means for you, which is silly. And if you need a stereotype to tell you what it means for you to be happy, you're doing it wrong. And I also feel like there are a lot of, I mean, not that kind of American dream, but this idea of these building blocks that are supposed to make you happy. I feel like those have been coming up forever. Those come from like magazines, like women's magazines that tell you this is what you need, and
Exactly.
men's magazines telling you this is what you need. And even if you go online, these are the clothes you need. And I mean, you know, I feel like a really big thing right now, or at least a thing that I see a lot, are these people who drop out of college because college isn't right for them, and they need to be free, and they need to travel, and they need to experience their 20s, and they like decide. And I actually know people who have done this, and it looks great on paper, and it's the building blocks, it's a movie plot, but once you actually do it, if you don't think through what you're doing, it's not going to work. And it's that way with anything. Like, if you think that there's this rope in front of you to climb that's just going to take you to happiness, I think that's wrong, and you actually need to figure out what's going on.
Since we're almost out of memory, I'm going to move to the next question. We're running a little long.
Buy American Dream.
Although I will say, as a final thing, as a rebuttal, you know, Michelle Obama gave this great speech at the Democratic Convention the other day.
Life.
And
you gave me life, Lotus.
And she was talking about this whole comparison about how she literally sleeps in a house that was built by slaves, you know, not so long ago. And Bill O'Reilly, God bless his heart.
Oh, I saw his comments.
Replies by saying, you know, they didn't have it too bad. You know, they had living wage.
They had job security.
They had job security. Yeah, they were also slaves. Like what?
Bill O'Reilly, can you
Slavery
not?
apologists. What?
Anyway.
We still have those?
A secondary question.
Yeah.
Do you think it is more about who you know in life rather than what you know that leads people towards realizing their dreams?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yep. I think
Whoa.
Yep.
It's all about luck.
Luck and who you know.
I mean, honestly, it's who you know, right? And especially for us living in such a small mid-major city, you know, like everyone knows everyone. I've ran into that this year alone, and it has not worked out in my favor whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, that's the way.
Especially, so as a person who's involved in theater, and I have dabbled in professional theater a little bit, theater is such a small world, and it really is. You have to know the right people, because the moment you have a bad name, it's not going to work. I was just in Boston, and we went to a free Shakespeare show, and on the stage was somebody who I literally worked with last summer. I was like, where did you come from? Like, what do you...
That's awesome.
Theater is such a small
That is
world,
crazy.
so with theater, it really, you have to make good connections, you have to leave good impressions, or else it doesn't matter if you're good.
finished.
If you're impossible to work with, it does not matter.
Yeah, film's very similar. So, yeah, it's pretty much our
I love how we had no words for that. Just,
Oh, but don't worry. If we ran out of things, my dad gave me a link to debate.org. The first one is, do exploding teeth really exist?
Well, maybe we'll have to tackle that for episode 40. But as of right now, I do want to say, we've been working on this for a little while, and we're proud to announce that we are going to be doing some live shows coming up ahead. So if you live in the Cleveland area, our first show is happening at Now That's Class on August 18th at 8 p.m. So if you can make it out, we'd love to have you. It'll be free. Come chill with us. Come meet us.
Come have a drink.
Come have a drink.
I think my dad's gonna be there. My dad literally, he was like, "Are you gonna be at that show?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yes."
You can meet the infamous OG Bobby Johnson.
He's wanted to go to Now That's Class for like months. He's been bothering me about it, so he's really excited.
Definitely, but
If you would like to give us some topic theme ideas, you can email us at canyouNotPodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on iTunes at Can You Not under the podcast section. We're also on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/CYN podcast. And we just started literally about an hour ago a Facebook and a Twitter. So what's the what's the Twitter, Amber?
I think it's at C.Y.N PLZ. So can you not please?
Yeah.
I do not remember the Facebook URL. I think it's just Can You Not Podcast, but I'll link it on the Twitter, so you'll be able to find it.
oh,
It'll be great.
anyways,
Please follow us on both of those.
Tweet us, yell at us.
We would really love if you left us an iTunes review too. We really appreciate the one from Crimson Cliff,
shouts out to Cliff.
and we will read yours as well. And we really enjoyed this episode too. We really enjoyed getting your ideas. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being our friends and fans.
Thank you for being my neighbor.
Ho di diddly do.
Anyways,
Can you not?
Can you, Joe and the Kowalski clan? Can you not?
Me, can you not?
Oh.
Yeah, no pity for you. It's 2016. You get no pity.
Oh.
Anyways, bye.